Hello YouTube, Kerber here, and today we are going to get into the cheap computer. So after that really awkward intro, we are going to get into the build itself. So I went to Micro Center, the local computer store that I adore, and if it was any closer to me, mine closer less than 45 minutes away, I would live there and have no money and be homeless. So I entered Micro Center with a pocket full of 20s and 10s and 5s with a $200 budget. I couldn't go over, I couldn't really go under, and I'll get into why. But I needed to purchase the cheapest functioning computer that is not 100% crap that they could sell me. Not pre-built, brand new parts. I wanted to see, I always hear people, oh, the best computer is $600 and up. And I agree to an extent, but once I did this build, I kind of changed my mind as to what actually was a good computer. When I walked in there, I told one of the guys there, I already knew what I wanted, but I was like, I'm trying to build a PC for $200 that works, and he gave me the weirdest look, like, why? I've never done this, what are you doing with your life look? And I basically told him, give me the cheapest everything you have that won't blow up 2 days after I buy it. And I already told him I wanted an A6, and I'll get into that when I start talking about this more. But he gave me one of the weirdest looks, wondering why I'm not buying an A10, because they don't have A8s in stock. I would have totally bought one of those. So, let's get into it. So now that I have my motherboard box here and we can start, and I don't need to memorize all this, I can just read it off. Let's start with the motherboard. So, the motherboard is a Gigabyte Ultra Durable, technically 4+, F2A 88XN Wi-Fi edition. This includes a integrated 2.2 802.11 AC 867 megabits. That's a lot, not really, but okay. I guess it is, maybe. I don't know. Dual band Wi-Fi plus Bluetooth 4.0 card. So you can pretty much put this into a home theater situation if you wanted to have a Bluetooth functionality with your phone. You could probably get a dongle for that, or not really. Probably just use a software. It also comes included with a little antenna to help with the range, and then there's little ports on the I/O panel to screw that into. I haven't used it, I only use Ethernet Master Race, that's a new thing. So on the topic of the Ultra Durable 4+ edition of the Gigabyte motherboards, it's pretty much all of them, I think. I'm pretty sure they're all Ultra Durable just because it's a motherboard, and why the hell not? And this pretty much means that it has a tighter woven PCB, its humidity protection is greater, so if you live in a more humid climate, this motherboard will be 100% fine. I've never ran into a motherboard that can't handle pretty much humid climates, but I guess it's an issue, or else they wouldn't want to fix it. They have dual BIOS, which is very helpful. I can attest to this. I had a Gigabyte motherboard way back in the days, like 6 years ago, and I decided to try and stick a completely different stick of RAM in there and boot it, and I flashed my BIOS. I took it out, switched the BIOS, and it booted right up. Nothing was lost, besides my overclock, which I was upset back then on my i3. But, so that is an amazing feature. Also, it has anti-surge IC protection. Now, I've also never ran into this because unless if your power supply physically sends surge through the cables to your motherboard, which is rare because if you're not plugged into a surge protected outlet / power strip, then no. Also, if your power supply isn't surge protected, then also no. So, I don't know. To me, it's just kind of a given that they wouldn't need it, but apparently they include it. So on the I/O panel, we have 4 USB 2.0 ports. We have a PS2 port, which I guess I understand why they include that. Then we have dual HDMI ports. I found out that only one works before you install drivers. And then it has 2 antenna connectors. It has a dual link DVI, 2 USB 3.0 ports, a GBE LAN, so Gigabit Ethernet. It has an 8-channel HD audio and a optical digital audio output. So this means that it would be good in a home entertainment situation if you want to stick this, near your DVR or whatever you want. So it does have an optical out. It has an 8-channel HD audio. I wouldn't suggest just plugging this into speakers. Obviously, you want to plug this into a preamp or amp completely and have that go to speakers, because this motherboard will definitely not be able to put out the power that is needed for actual speakers. And can you hear my dog? Another interesting fact about this motherboard is it only has 2 fan controllers, so it only has 2 fan ports, and they're both 4-pin, which is good, I guess, that, you know, at least it didn't skimp out on that. But they have 1 CPU and 1 system, so if you're going to have any more than 2 fans in the case, or whatever you're using this for, which I guess is rare because it is an MITX motherboard, did I forget to mention that? It's MITX, so you could probably get an MATX or ATX for cheap, or more, but I decided to go with the MITX because of a personal project I am working on, which there will be a video on in the future. So yes, if you are going to be using more than 2 fans, definitely get an adapter from 1 to 8 or whatever the standard is. Alright, now on to the things that are plugged into and or are on the motherboard. So as I said earlier, the APU slash processor was a APU, as I think I've said like 7 times now. More specifically, it is an A6 7400K, which means that it has 2 CPU cores and 4 GPU cores. So GPU-wise, it's not too terribly bad. CPU-wise, I wouldn't do too many heavy things on it, but it is surprisingly formidable. But the included graphics are kind of lacking. They're just R5 graphics, which really aren't that good. So if you're going to be doing gaming on this system, definitely upgrade to an A10. Don't even think about the A8. Go to the A10 immediately. You'll spend about $40 more and you're going to get a lot more bang for your buck, but I was on a tight budget and I wanted to see how cheaply I could build this computer. So that's why I did not buy with the A10 and I went with the A6. They also include this sticker, which I will put on the case once I build it. Oop. Teaser. And I'm just cooling the APU with the stock cooler since I wanted to keep it small, compact, quiet, and I'm not doing anything too intensive on it. I'm just going to be coding. I have Linux, I have Ubuntu 15.0.1 on it at the moment, so I'm just doing pretty minimalistic things. That's my dog's turbo fly valve. Yep. So the other thing on the motherboard would be the RAM. It has 2 slots for RAM, DDR3 RAM. And those 2 slots are occupied by 1 4-gig stick of Corsair Vengeance. It's 1866 megahertz, so I have a total of 8 gigabytes, which this I already had, so the pricing may be a bit off. This pricing is weird. I'm saying $200 because I bought a $40 mouse pad. The RAM I already had, and the hard drive I already have, and technically you can get cheaper RAM. You could get like Crucial Ballistic Sports 8 gigs for like $40, and you can get a hard drive for like $40. So to me, it's still going to equal about $200. But I wouldn't go anything less with the motherboard or the power supply. But the RAM is definitely something that can be cheaper and still get the same results. And I just accidentally did that. And then everything in this PC build is powered by an EVGA 80 Plus, not 80 Plus Silver or Gold or whatever. It's just an 80 Plus. 430 watt power supply. So that pretty much wraps up the build, and in total I spent $187. So I only bought the APU or CPU, motherboard, and power supply. All of that came out to about $140, and then you also have to factor in tax. So it may have actually been only about $110 for those parts. So if you decide to spend $250, which I would recommend at this point, this was just an experiment for me and for someone that may not have the budget, I would suggest getting 8 gigs of RAM, which isn't expensive, get an SSD for 1, and get an A10 processor. Those 2 things I believe would raise the price about $40. So if you want to, and that would honestly, an A10 APU can run a lot of games at medium to high settings. I think it can run Battlefield 4 at medium at about 30 frames. That's just what I think. I have no proof behind that, but I've heard that I know it can run War Thunder and most war games like that at max settings, not completely max, but like movie settings, at around 60 frames per second. So if you're going to be doing any gaming on this system, definitely spend a little bit more money. You can actually enjoy the computer. So yeah, that wraps up this build. I would like to say thank you for watching. If you have any questions on how to build this and or where I got my parts, everything's at Micro Center. but if you, I will put a PC part picker build of exactly what I have here, and I'll actually make a modification for the RAM and the hard drive since I already had those, and I know that there are cheaper options out there, but you'll get the same exact quality / performance. So I will include a PC part picker link down in the description below if you are interested in purchasing any of these parts online and or just seeing what it would cost. So I will do that, and if you have any questions about the build, or if you want to see future builds, please leave a comment below so show your support. And thank you guys for watching. Sorry if some of the camera work looked kind of shoddy. I was trying to use one of my old cameras to see if it would look any better than my iPhone. Sadly, it does not. So I will be not doing that in the next video. I will be using my iPhone purely. So thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe, like, comment, share, and I'll see you later.